But it can't be the other way around. We can't be trying to help other people before being able to figure things out for ourselves. If you have talents, do your work as a human being. Do it without fuss or hypocrisy, and let your actions be guided by reason and a concern for the well being of others. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, Book 6. That first part of that quote there, if you have talents, if you have talents. You see, the Stoics talk a lot about how we have to be useful to society. Be useful. There's actually a book by Arnold Schwarzenegger which is pretty stoic, and it's called Be Useful. And the whole premise of that book is that you should be useful to society, and that's kind of the stoic thing, right? Do something for others, do things for others, make yourself someone who can be of value to the world and be of value to the world. However, there's a big step to this that comes before being useful, and that is becoming useful. You see, it's not as simple as just choosing to go out into the world and do things for other people. You have to actually be competent. You have to be able. And let's go over a very simple example. You can go out into the world and spread kindness. You can, presumably right now, because you have a basic understanding of English or whichever language you speak. You have some social skills that you can go and take out into the world. And so you can go ask people genuinely, how are you doing? How is your day? You can listen to them. You can ask them about what they do for work. You can form a connection there. But you can only really do that now. You couldn't do that when you were a baby. You couldn't do that before you learned how to speak language, before you learned how to be social, before you learned what it means to work a job that you like or dislike, to be able to empathize with other people. And so you right now, I could take you and I could pluck you from where you are, and I could put you somewhere in another country where you don't speak their language. And it would be harder for you because you first have to learn the skill on how to communicate before you can do that. In other words, for you to be useful in the sense of being kind in this example, you first have to become useful. You first have to be someone who can do the thing that you want to do. And that's something that's somewhat overlooked. Because if you look at like the Stoic ideal, this idea of virtue, let's take virtue away for just 1 second. Let's look at courage. Because all of the cardinal virtues, justice, wisdom, courage, and temperance, all of them you can look at as being actually virtue because they're pure. The courageous act is the virtuous act, is the wise act, and so on. So let's take courage. Now, courage is not simply fighting your fear and doing things despite having fear. Courage it's actually fortitude also. And fortitude is strength. Strength. It's competence. It's ability. And a great example of this, one that we turn to a lot, let's have a look at the squat in the gym. Is it courageous for you to squat 300 pounds? Well, yes, it is. But first you have to be competent and capable to even attempt that. And if you can squat 600 pounds, all of a sudden that 300-pound squat, it might not be so courageous. Again, the complexity of these virtues. All of that really to say is that there's this stage in life, and I'm not sure it quite ends, but there's this stage where you actually have to become useful before you are useful. It's like a hammer. You look at the rubber material, you look at the iron, and it's really not anything. It's just material. And so the hammer has to be made before the hammer can hammer the nail. It sounds rather obvious, but it's something we forget. A lot of times we speak as though contributing to the world is just, oh no, you just go and do it. Now, albeit the example I gave earlier with being kind, there are many examples like that where you can contribute to the world right now. You can go out, probably, unless you're a baby listening to this, you can go out into the world and you can be kind. In a similar way, there are many skills I'm sure that you have right now that you can go out into the world and help the world. You are probably capable of going and picking up litter in the park. Imagine doing that. Imagine the humility of being able to do that. Maybe you have just an extra dollar or two that you can buy someone a coffee with. Maybe you're really good at strength training, and maybe you can offer some coaching to the neighbor next door whose son, well, wants to get into strength training and the family can't afford coaching. Maybe you can offer your skills that way. The point being is that no matter where you are in your journey, you probably can, if you choose to, go out and serve the world. You do have enough skills to do that. But there's also a lot of things that you probably can't do. Can you run a business? Can you offer a product? Can you be a good leader at work? Can you be a good leader of your family? Can you be a good listener? Can you be a good friend, a husband, a good father? Can you organize a group in your community, a positive group? Now, these are things that take a lot of time to harness, these skills, and they are skills. Hey there. Let me thank you for being a listener to this ad-free podcast. If you enjoy the podcast, there are a few things you can do to help me out. A 5-star review on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this really does help, and it's free. You can also sign up for my Substack newsletter or Patreon. Substack free gets each episode emailed to you along with the transcripts in the form of an article. You'll also get access to my live talks, followed by a Q&A afterward. Substack Premium supporters and my patrons on Patreon get access to the recordings and a brief article of those Q&A sessions, access to full episodes of the Paradoxically Speaking podcast, my Steps to Success interview series, Stoic meditations, and much more. Links to Substack and Patreon can be found in the show notes. And so, in some real sense, there has to be some focus in your life on development, on not necessarily just implementing more acts of kindness within your day, but trying to make yourself more capable than you actually are right now. And have you ever seen someone, they're kind of, I guess, snake oil salesmen. They want to offer a service, and maybe they do offer a service. You see these people online sometimes, maybe on Instagram, maybe in your community. You see people that are saying that they're experts at something. They're saying that they're really good at something, and they're trying to sell their services to other people. But if you're someone who knows a lot about what they're offering, you might be able to realize really quickly that, hold on a minute, actually, you don't really know what you're doing yet. Like, good effort. I like that you're trying to help people, but you don't have the qualifications or the competency to offer your services like that. And so, to get back to this become useful stage so that we can be useful, let's say you want to be a strength coach. Well, the first thing you should do before you become a strength coach is get qualified in some way. Now, coaching is an unregulated thing in Canada, and I think it is in the US as well. You can get insurance for it, but it's pretty unregulated. But there's competencies you can get. Another way is to just train a lot. Hey, if you train in the gym for a year, you might not be able to coach, but if you train in the gym for 10 years, maybe you know enough at that stage to offer some services. But if you just go to the gym for a month and then all of a sudden you become a strength coach or a coach of anything, it really begs the question, well, what have you accomplished to make you worthy of that coaching? And so again, become useful before you try and be useful. I'm going to attack this from one more angle before we close up. This is a very interesting one. If you look at your life as a whole, if you look at the circles of concern in Stoicism, there's the self, and then there's your family, and then there's your community and your country, and you can zoom out to the entire cosmos. In some real sense, man, you have to learn how to take care of yourself before you even think about taking care of anyone else. You have to be able to, for the most part, pay your own bills, go to work, be able to handle yourself emotionally, be able to move things forward. You have to be able to know yourself well enough to be at peace with yourself. Like, these things are so important because unless you have that down, how can you even hope to help anybody? Because you don't know the nuances. You don't understand the real solution. Let me give you a great example. A quote, life coach who says, I am going to teach people how to clean their rooms and to keep their rooms clean. And then you find yourself visiting their house one day and you look in their room and it's an absolute mess. How long would you keep that coach? You're thinking to yourself, well, hold on a minute. You're trying to teach people how to keep their rooms clean, and you haven't even figured out how to do that yet. So you are trying to be useful, but you're not yet. And so the goal of all of us should be to become the most useful that we possibly can be for ourselves, to get ourselves and our own lives together, but then to eventually give that away to other people and to help other people. But it can't be the other way around. We can't be trying to help other people before being able to figure things out for ourselves. Now, what does this not mean? This does not mean that you wait your entire life before you venture out into the world. This doesn't mean that you have to have your room in 100% perfect order before you give someone advice on how to keep their room clean. Because guess what? You're never going to be there. You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to have the cleanest room. You're never going to have, the 100% sticker at your job. So it gets down to discernment. It gets down to trying to understand that, and it gets down to really wisdom. But at the end of the day, I think it's a lot more simple than we make it out to be. I think we try and become useful, and to our capacity, we try and be useful to other people. And hopefully as time goes on, we are able to become more useful so that we can be more useful. I say this quote not enough. I have to credit it to myself. It's one that I thought of way back when I was a young whippersnapper and I was starting to think about strength and what strength means and fortitude means. And I came across this in my journaling efforts. And so I'd like to end this episode with this quote. Become strong, first, to lift yourself up, and second, to lift others